I am a foster parent, but my girlfriend refuses to accept my foster children as legitimate. She refuses to even talk to them. What do I do? My girlfriend, M, and I met when at university almost 10 years ago. We had been friends on and off since then, but it was never like we were super close. We met again at a New Year's party in 2023 and we started talking more and eventually we started dating. I'm a foster parent. My parents were one when I was growing up, and once I reached of age to qualify, I trained to become one myself. I've been fostering since I was about 22 years old. I currently foster 3 boys. The older 2 are biological brothers and moved in with me early 2022. But the youngest one, 11, has lived with me since June 2019. This is something that I obviously made very clear to M when we started dating, to which she had always been incredibly supportive. I introduced her as my girlfriend to them about 6 months ago. I know that took me a long time, but I'm super cautious with introducing new people to them, especially considering some of their past surrounding step-parents. She never rushed me into introducing them and has never tried to force a relationship with them. Looking back, I don't know if she has even tried to form a solid relationship with them at all. 11 has been moved to a long-term placement with me, which is 2 steps below adoption. It means he is never going to be removed from my household or reintroduced back into his bio family. He is my son, calls me dad, etc. He hadn't been in contact with his bio family for over 2 years and has been really wanting to get in contact with his mom. I have been trying my hardest to arrange this for him, but his bio mom just hasn't been willing. Since he's moved in with me, she's had 3 more children who have all stayed living with her. This is something 11 really struggles with. He has such complex feelings of abandonment that I couldn't even begin to unpick them here. But I have been working to build his self-worth back up. It has been a long road with so many ups and downs, but I feel like I am getting somewhere with him finally. Me and his social worker finally managed to arrange contact with his bio mom and that she agreed to meet him in person. This has been what he has been begging for years. It was arranged for last Sunday. Looking back, she immediately seemed off after I told her. When I asked, she just told me that she had had a bad day at work, even though she seemed fine prior. About 5 days after I told her when the contact was arranged for, she asked to meet up for a romantic dinner. I asked my mom to have the boys for the evening and met her at her favorite restaurant. And she told me she had booked a romantic lodge trip. I was initially excited, but I found out she had booked it for the same weekend 11 was meeting his bio mom. I told her I wouldn't be able to go, that I needed to be with 11 because I knew that he was going to have such a hard time processing his emotions and thoughts after his contact, and that he would just need that support. She went off on me, saying how I always prioritized the boys and never her, and how I should be happy that she booked and paid for the getaway even though I make more money than her. She said I should get my mom to do the contact, or ask their agency to arrange someone. I said no, I wanted to be there to support 11. She said something along the lines of, "You won't be able to do this when we have a child." We ended up having a huge argument. She left the restaurant and then texted me some pretty nasty things later. And then yesterday she messaged just normal messages as if nothing happened, but I haven't responded. I've come to realize that she doesn't consider my boys as genuinely part of my family. She doesn't see me as a dad. She sees me as a babysitter. I don't want this relationship to be over. Genuinely, I love her. I'm the type of guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. And I have felt so depressed since the fight. And it was even worse that I just had to almost wear an emotional mask for 11 the past week because he has been so depressed after seeing his mom that I don't want him to see me depressed. Where do I go from here? Please don't give advice of just break up, because I know that's an option, but I don't want to take it. It's hard finding people with what I do for a living, and I feel so broken that I thought I had found someone real. Top comments. Commenter. So this comment, she said something along the lines of, "You won't be able to do this when we have a child," did not make you stop and think? She fully expects you to stop caring for the children who are not yours if this is real and you love these kids like you say you do. You have no choice but to break up. Commenter. Your kids are your priority. Do you think it's fair that they have to share their lives with a woman that doesn't treat them as family? If you're going to be a foster parent, then you need a partner that's on board with that. Don't settle for someone just because you don't want to be alone. Commenter. I mean, yeah, you absolutely should prioritize your kids over her. The idea that her date plans should force you to cancel any pre-existing plans with your kids, much less a meeting this important to your son, is ludicrous. If you really want this to continue, and to be completely honest, most people wouldn't tolerate how she treated you, you're going to need to sit her down and reiterate that your kids are your priority and the pretty nasty things she said aren't okay, because staying with her long-term means she at some capacity becomes their mom. Commenter. I feel like I'm going to get downvoted here, but I'm an adoptee and I have a different perspective. She's wrong for double booking, but she's also not wrong overall. You waited a long time to introduce them, and maybe they are a big part of your life, but perhaps because of the length of time you spent before the introduction, you didn't show her that in any meaningful way. Also, they're not your kids. They're not. So many people, even those with the best intentions, can put their own adult stuff onto kids in need. I'm not saying you're doing this, but some folks get a savior complex and consider themselves parents before they themselves are grown. They allow the relationships to get codependent. That can be real confusing to kids that can actually have their life uprooted at any moment. I respect what you're trying to do, and I do think you did the right thing in siding with the plans you made with the boy. But she said, "You're not going to be able to do this when we have kids." Makes me think that you didn't explain this situation to her properly. Did you have conversations at all regarding having biological children and how that would fit into your lifestyle? If not, I can't really blame her for her reaction. Update 1. Hi everyone. Thank you guys for the support I got from my first post. I really appreciate all the love I got sent about me and my boys. I just wanted to clarify some things from my original post. Some people made a lot of really unfounded assertions about me and my family based simply off the post. People saying I would let him abuse my sons, obviously not true, and I think it's mad that people even came to that conclusion. I was slow to introduce M to my boys, due to their past trauma with step-parents, only introducing them about 6 months ago. Looking back, I can notice that she was very distant with the boys, but at the time I had attributed that her maintaining boundaries because of their past trauma. I had people commenting that I would be giving my sons up when I had biological children, simply not true or even ever suggested by me. I don't really need to say this, but obviously not true, and pretty insulting thing to even try to suggest. I had people commenting that I shouldn't call my children, because they haven't been legally adopted. 11 has been long-term matched with me, and my other 2 are in the process. They are as permanent as biological children. I see them no different, and they don't see themselves as any different. I even had people saying I was perpetuating toxic masculinity by saying I was wearing a mask to support 11 while he was depressed after seeing his mom. I expressed my emotions to him plenty. He did not need anything additional at that time. I did wear a mask so I could support him without him thinking I was feeling overwhelmed. Just thought I'd hop on and give an update about where M and I are at currently with our relationship. I messaged M back and asked that we meet up and have a conversation in person. By this point, I had already decided I was going to officially end things with her, but I didn't say that over the phone as I think it's more proper to do it in person. We met up in town. I asked her why she booked the holiday for the same weekend as 11's visit, even though she knew it was then. She told me she forgot, but honestly, I don't believe her. I think this was a test. Someone commented that she purposely put me in a position where I could not be the good guy. No matter what I would choose, someone would be let down. And honestly, I think she underestimated my devotion to my children. She thought I would just go with her, and I think she was genuinely shocked when I didn't. But I don't understand why. I am quite accommodating, but I have always made it clear my children are my first priority. I asked her if she fully understood what my boys mean to me. She said she did. But then in the same breath tried to say again that I could have arranged someone from the agency to take him to the visit. I asked how she would have felt if your father canceled an important day with you to go on holiday with their girlfriend. And she said to me, "You aren't their dad. You need to stop acting like you are." I tried to say something I had planned out before, but I am such a bad speaker it probably didn't sound anything as good as what I am about to write. But this is what my plan was. I am their father. I am. Just because they aren't related to me by blood does not make them my family. They are my children. The fact you think I'm not their dad is insane. There is absolutely no way I am letting you poison out relationship or act in any way toxic to them. They mean far, far more to me than you ever have or ever will. Our relationship is over. And I left. I feel like she's changed so much, but someone commented that she actually just showing her true colors, which is true perhaps, but I feel so led on and hurt. It's so hard to date with what I do for a living. So hard. But as you guys said, I don't need to stay in a toxic relationship just because I'm scared it will be hard to find a new positive relationship. I also had people say it will be easier in my 30s compared to my 20s because people will want to settle down more. I hope that is true. But yes, we are completely through. If I could use this moment to say, people please look into fostering. Fostering is hard, so hard, but really worth it. You are actively creating a better future and life for an individual in ways that you might not even see, but you are. You are creating a safe and loving environment for an individual that may have never had it before. You are helping a person have a positive future, whereas they may have just fallen to the cycle of abuse before. If you are a caring and loving person, please look into it. Relevant comments. See commenter. Just want to say, thank you for being a great dad and putting your kids first. Commenter. Super proud of you. You are a stand-up human. I hope you find a partner as committed to fostering as you, and one day you and your future partner have many fostered and adopted children in a big house full of love. Even though it sucks because you're hurting right now, you always make the right decision for the kids. Good job, Dad. Hugs from an internet stranger. Red heart. Commenter. Yeah, man, good on you. You're doing great stuff. But you do need to temper your expectations with dating L. Most women, even in their early 30s in my experience, but have trouble dating a single father, let alone a single foster parent to 3 foster kids. So yeah, maybe set your sights a little older. Upper 30s, early 40s might have more luck up there. Commenter. What makes a young single dude like you want to foster not 1 but 3 kids? Like, it's a very noble thing, but how did you come to this decision? 3 kids as a single dude seems absolutely insane to me. You're just going to sacrifice your money and free time for so many foster kids? How do you even have time to date someone? Commenter. This is what makes me think your post is fake. Unless you're independently wealthy, there's no way you can survive and raise 3 kids on just the foster care stipend. OP responding. It's a completely different system in England compared to, I'm guessing you're from the US. I get paid around £24,500 per child. And that's for a standard child. It can go as much as like £40,000 per child. Here agencies don't want you working, they want you available all the time for the children. You can work though it's frowned upon, and it has to be flexible hours around the child/ren. And so your pay reflects the fact you have to make huge sacrifices to your career. I know it's a completely different system in the US, and though I've spoken to many American foster carers on Reddit, I still don't really get your system. Commenter. Sorry, I'm not involved in fostering, and you described it as 2 steps below adoption or words to that effect. So I assumed there were following stages to formalize an adoption still pending. Either way, he is your son. But yes, I think that sums it up well. You couldn't win in that situation. I'm sure if you had chosen her, she would have questioned your potential loyalty to your future children if you were prepared to choose the trip over 11 in his hour of need. 2. I would consider looking into details and experiences of coercive control and ask yourself if you recognize any. It isn't exclusively something that happens to women, and it usually starts small and plausible and then escalates. This may be a warning sign that needs to be picked up on now, rather than later. OP responding. Thank you so much for your advice. Honestly, it has been a real eye-opener. She displays a lot of coercive control traits, something that genuinely never occurred to me before. Yeah, I explained it weird. Basically, in fostering, there's short-term placement. They have plans to either reunify this child with their bio family or have them adopted. Long-term placement. This child remains in foster care but is permanently matched with their foster carer. There are no plans to move this child out of the household or reunify them with bio family. Parental responsibility remains with the LA. This is what 11 is currently on. Special guardianship order. The child remains a legal tie to their bio family but is no longer considered a foster child. The foster parent now has parental responsibility. They have a legal connection to their foster parent. This is what I'm seeking for 11, but it takes ages. Adoption. The child has no legal tie to their bio family. In the eyes of the law, he is no different to a member of your biological family. Commenter. I'm an adoptive parent and I had to give a little side eye to OP as well. If he is so insistent that these are his children, why isn't he on the path to adopting them? If that were the case, there is 0% chance that he wouldn't have said so. He also apparently fosters children as his job, which is not to say it isn't real work, raising any child is, but I can't help but think that would have an impact on the children. If they know that his income is based on taking care of them, how could they not, on some level, feel like they are a task instead of a member of a family? OP responding. 11 does not want to be adopted by me. I mean, he would love it, but equally he wants to keep a legal tie to his bio family. When it's been explained fully to him, he has said it isn't something he wants to pursue at this time. I respect that. I won't pressure him into breaking a legal connection with his biological family that he can never get back. We are moving from being long-term matched to an SGO, which gives him a legal tie to me, and also gives me full parental responsibility, which would be great for me. I don't call fostering a job, but it is what I do for a living. I know this is very frowned upon in America, however that is not the case where I live. Who I foster with actively discourages you to work. They want you available for the children whenever, and there are a lot of meetings and training required during normal work hours. The fact I do this for a living has nothing to do with adoption. If I pushed for adoption, my fostering allowance doesn't go away. I can push for it to be written into the adoption process, and even further until 11 is 21, normal fostering allowance will stop when 11 turns 18. This is quite literally what I was referring to in my post about people making unfounded assertions based on nothing. Comments like yours are quite frustrating, honestly, and I genuinely feel they stigmatize foster children as not real members of the family, more than just being supportive. If I'm completely honest, I didn't read that full comment before I responded. I was stressed enough as is and stopped when they said, "You are not their parent. What you're saying is correct in some ways. It's always been my ideology to follow the child's lead. I never, for example, asked to be called dad. He tells people he's adopted by me, and at first that was something I kind of felt uncomfortable with, just because I didn't want to put it in his head if it wasn't something that was going to happen. But I was advised by my SW that if that's how he wants people outside of the family to see him, that's his choice. When he moved to secondary school, for example, he told me, "Don't introduce yourself as my foster parent. Just say you're my dad." The school themselves know he's fostered, but he meant in general. Again, who he wants to know the intimate details of his family life is up to him, and I will follow his lead. I've always been super supportive of bio-family being part of children's lives, when that's something wanted by the child themselves. 11 had weekly contact with his mom, but sadly she was a no-show most of the time. Every week it was so hard for him. It got to the point where he asked to stop the contact altogether. Refused phone calls with her when offered was a battle to get him to write letters to her. But we tried all sorts of strategies to help him. But by the end of it, we could see the only thing he wanted from her was commitment. He wanted to know we could book a visit and she would turn up. But he really wanted that. Which is why it took so long to get this visit sorted, because she was straight up told, "If you're not ready, do not arrange this. Only arrange this when you will 100% come." He does consider his biomom his parent. That isn't something I would take away from him, or want to. I am very supportive of their relationship and want him to have a strong bond with his biofamily because that is what he wants. Equally though, that does not take away from me being his parent. I am his dad. 11 considers me his dad, and I consider myself his dad. 11 in the past asked to be adopted by me, which is something we explored with his LASW. However, when it was fully explained that this would then cut his ties permanently with his biological family from a legal perspective, he said that wasn't something he wanted to pursue. I respect that, and won't push him into something he isn't really or comfortable with. Something I speak about is families come in all different shapes and sizes. Me being his parent doesn't take away from his biological parents also being his parent. That's not how he views it or how I would view it. The child likely still considers his mother his parent, despite how she has treated him and OP being an objectively better option. The child would possibly choose to live with his bio mother if given the option. This, however, is not true. 11 had the choice of continuing on short-term placement with me while they worked to reunify him with his bio family, but he requested to stay with me and requested to be long-term matched to me. Commenter: at what point is it sort of weird when you start insisting you are their real parent? For instance, as a volunteer who sees the kids once every 6 weeks, it would be weird to insist you are their permanent and real parent, right? OP kept insisting all the kids, including the ones who are at least 3 levels below adoption, if not more, are his kids. With his own background of being fostered, isn't this a red flag that OP himself might have some self-reflection to do? OP responds, "No, because that's how they consider themselves. Adoption is not what makes someone my child. Legally, perhaps, emotionally, no. Plus, adoption is not a straightforward path, and isn't the correct path for all children. It's always been my ideology to follow the child's lead. I never, for example, asked to be called dad. 11 tells people he's adopted by me, and at first that was something I kind of felt uncomfortable with, just because I didn't want to put it in his head if it wasn't something that was going to happen. But I was advised by my SW that if that's how he wants people outside of the family to see him, that's his choice. When 11 moved to secondary school, for example, he told me, "Don't introduce yourself as my foster parent. Just say you're my dad." The school themselves know he's fostered, but he meant in general. Again, who he wants to know the intimate details of his family life is up to him, and I will follow his lead. Your comment is another example of what I consider you filling in the blanks with your own unfounded assertions. You're making the assumption that me considering myself their parent isn't by their own lead. You're assuming that something I am projecting upon them and insisting they do, when it simply isn't the case.